Greetings, unsettled souls, and welcome to the Correct Views. I have something lodged in my eye from when I wore my contact. The studio is still in utter disarray for reasons that I can't even pretend to tell you about. And guess what? I'm doing the news anyway. Why? Because I may never have my studio back again, and who knows when my eye is going to get better. So if you're looking for professionality, screw off. If you're looking for good news reporting, you've got it. ISIS must be put on trial for genocide, UN says, as I sit in no studio. This is from Sky News. Can you tell I'm angry? ISIS Islamic State jihadists should be prosecuted for committing genocide against the Yazidis in Iraq, the United Nations has said. The UN Humanitarian Rights Office published a report detailing mass killings, torture, rape, and sexual slavery, and the use of child soldiers by extremists. Now, this is a big deal, and I'll tell you why. As I play with my eye, it's killing me, and I shouldn't even be on air. At the end of World War II, Adolf Hitler, little funny mustache bastard, decided that it would be a real prime idea to try to win the war against Stalinist Russia. Of course, you know, Stalin, while none of us like him, he was in fact one powerful SOB. He decided to recruit children into the army to try to defeat Stalin, who was taking over Berlin. This is exactly what we are seeing now in ISIS. And this is where I agree with Michael Savage. He said the reason that we don't recognize evil now, the reason we don't recognize fascism or the new form of Nazism, if you will, is because they didn't come with the Papa band and the brown shirts. They have since come with turbans on their head, proclaiming that they are practitioners of the religion of peace. Or as Michael Savage likes to say, we have yet another person beheaded in the name of the religion of peace. It's not all Islamists. It is a very small number of Islamists. The trouble is that small number goes into like 150,000 when you add in how many millions of Muslims there are. So a very small percentage is in fact a very large number. Am I being mean to Islamists? No, it happens in my religion too. I'm a Christian. They're called Westboro Baptists. What would I like to do to them? Punch them. It says the agency said in a statement that ISIS may have committed all three of the most serious international crimes, namely war crimes, check, crimes against humanity, check, and genocide, double check. The report, based on interviews with more than 100 witnesses and survivors of attacks in Iraq between June 2014 and February 2015, highlights brutal ISIS attacks on ethnic and religious groups. Yeah, I would consider getting rid of a major portion of history as a crime against humanity. For instance, do you know that much of the story of Jonah, yes, the big whale, much of the story of Jonah is in fact true? And you could prove large chunks of it via archaeological and historical data prior to ISIS now having destroyed it. So future generations are going to have to look at pictures and ancient texts of which we have pictures of, thankfully. No thanks to ISIS, but we don't have any physical proof anymore for many of the ancient things in history, be it Christian, Jew, or otherwise. We don't have proof of that anymore. We don't have proof of it largely because of ISIS. So, I mean, will it ever happen? I don't know. What worries me is that we have somehow, as a world, moved into an area where we recognize Hamas as a legitimate entity in the world, when in fact they are terrorists. You know, so if we're going to do that with, again, another one is the Brotherhood. If we're going to do that with these monsters, I'm concerned that we're going to give equal footing to ISIS 10 years from now. It's like the amount of evil that we allow in as a legitimate form of government is insane. And I'm not talking about your garden variety evil like me, for that matter. If two girls are making out on the couch, I'm going to watch two girls make out on the couch. Is that right? I don't know, but I'm going to watch it. That is not to say same as beheading your fellow man for watching two women make out on the couch. So do not try to give me the moral equivalency, because if you do, you're just going to be wrong. Zero hedge. This was interesting as we move on. EU and Greece running out of time as bank runs intensify. Bail-ins likely. Those of you, Oi Canada, you know who you are, that have been with me since day one, since before YouTube hosed me by taking a third of my videos now, those of you that know me, know that I have warned you that you are to avoid banks at all costs, and every turn, do not bank. If you do bank, you're a moron, because they're going to take your money. They did it to Cyprus. They did it to some degree to Poland. Russia has hinted at it. We all know that America's headed in that direction, and if you don't, it's probably because you've been listening to Beyonce videos. Well, here's another one. If you want to know, by the way, how to live without banks, I'm going to read this on air someday. Go to the mediaspeaks.com and look up how to live without banks. It's by far and away, it's been viewed by like 3,000 people. It's the most successful thing I've ever written, unfortunately, because I've written things I think are better. But in any event, this will protect you from the banks, and it's free. It's on the mediaspeaks.com, how to live without banks. Well, I don't know, yo. Why do I want to know why to live without banks? All right, here we go. If you put your money in a bank, they can do something that is called a bail-in. It's also known as a haircut. If you have $10,000 in a bank and your country goes bankrupt because it chose to rely on something like the Fed, which wise people like me and Ron Paul say is a disaster. You may have heard of him. The issue comes in when the government crashes due to its bad monetary policy. And then once you, who have your money in the bank, well, you've got 10 grand, looks to me like you can afford to give 2 grand away. And they take it out of your bank account and refuse to let you have access to it. How do you avoid that happening? Come on, say it with me. TheMediaSpeaks.com. Look up how to live without banks. Greece's place in the Eurozone, which is half of a one-world government, which is half of the world of Satan, is a precarious as ever as talks between Prime Minister Tsipras and that's the president of the Prime Minister of Greece, and European leaders in Brussels broke down hours after reaching general agreement. And Greece warned that Germany will be impossible for Greece to service the debt payments due in the coming weeks if the EU fails to provide short-term financial assistance. What does all of this mean? Maybe you've spent all of your days with your head up your ass and now everything's coming to a head. You want to know why you're not making any money. You want to know why the world sucks, and suddenly you turned into the correct views. Greece unwisely joined the European Union. If you don't know, the European Union is most of Europe under the umbrella of one financial institution, which tends to center around Germany. Sieg Heil. No, they're not fascist. I'm being facetious. No, Merkel is not a fascist. I was kidding before I get hate now. But anyway, fascist or not, Germany got what they wanted. They are, in fact, in charge of the entire EU. They just didn't need to kill anybody and wear little brown mustaches. But the damage otherwise is just as bad. And unfortunately, Greece has joined into this. And now they're hosed. Things are going very, very bad. Now, did Greece bring a lot of this on themselves the same way that America has, by spending way more than they had? Have I gone through a bankruptcy? Yes, it happened because I was poor. It didn't happen because I was buying fancy cars and big screen TVs. It happens. The entire Greek setup loaned way too much money to way too many people and institutions, and now they're in a mess. There's a chance that Greece is going to leave the Eurozone and go back to using the drachma as a currency. The drachma is going to need, among other things, a massive amount of printing presses, and people are not going to trust the paper fiat currency that comes out of the Greece drachma if they were to leave the euro, which will be happening by the end of April if they do it. There have been people that believe that if Greece leaves, it's called the Grexit, Greece exit European Union. If the Grexit happens, gold holders could be in a very good situation. Now, again, those that have been wise enough to buy gold, we're not hoping that this happens, because we need to remember these are people's lives, and life in Greece right now is horrible. However, it's not the wise people's fault that these morons decided to sign themselves up for the European Union. So, I mean, it's a give and take here. The average Greek citizen probably knew that this was going to be a disaster, but in any event, it says Bloomberg confirms that the Greek government may run out of cash to pay pensions and salaries in April. We're talking about a month from now. January saw record drops in deposits in Greek banks. The banks have been drawing from the Emergency Liquidity Assistance Program to stay afloat. The ELA is operated by the Greek Central Bank, but is reviewed by the ECB. That's the Euro Central Bank, and they are not in favor of helping Greece. What does all of this mean? There's a link for this. Grexit could propel gold higher, with respected analysts saying gold quickly could rise to $2,000 per ounce. It's sitting at like $1,200 right now with shipping, people. Am I saying to buy gold? Yes, I am. Do I think the Greeks are going to leave the Eurozone? Not yet. Don't get excited. I've thought about it all day. I've sent text to everybody. Not yet. What's that mean? It means you can wait? No. It means you need to buy gold now, because I think they're going to leave in the future. That's why it's called The Correct Views. Friends, Infowars.com posted this, but it's actually Paul Joseph Watson that wrote it. Beachgoers in San Diego signed a petition to support Obama's illiteracy program. This is an old story. Mark Dice did it, but this I want to go to the end of this. The only reason I'm going over it, as Christelle dies behind me, the only reason that I'm going over this is the last paragraph here. I think it really needs to be talked about for a moment. Across the Western world as a whole, linked to prove it, the average IQ has dropped by an astonishing 14.1 percentage points over the last century, despite advances in technology and greatest access to information that has ever been known.
Oh God, we're all in trouble.
We're not just in trouble, we're doomed. The trouble is that we have let's say, for instance, we have the internet in front of us, and we look up pictures of silly cats, new Kesha videos. And again, I'm a big fan of the fail video. I like to watch them before I go to sleep. Some people are watching fail videos instead of watching the correct views. My point being that you can tell the IQ has dropped. Hal, do me a favor. Watch the original Scrooge that was made. Or it's not the original. I want to say it's the one with Alistair Sim.
The Charles Dickens?
Yes. Look at the way that it's written. A little over 100 some years ago. Look at the way it's written. Half of the words that are in it, nobody even knows what they mean anymore. We are quickly becoming a very, very, very stupid people. So read the study that I mentioned. Look up Mark Dice's article, but more importantly, look up the links that are through Mark Dice's article, because it matters. And what else matters? How about dailycaller.com? 2 immigrants for every new job since 2000. All right. Now, I am, in fact, my dad, well, I am, obviously my dad was, related to Pancho Villa. Yes, the famous criminal out of Mexico. Am I proud of it? No, it's just true. My grandmother on my mom's side was related to the Wright brothers. So my family's one of the reasons that you have airplanes, and my family is one of the reasons that you have Mexican criminals. So hate one, love the other. I don't care what you do, but they're both true. In any event, I think it gives me a pretty gray slate, doesn't it? Obama with the, not just Obama, but Obama, Bush, Clinton, this love affair of illegal immigration. Let me just spell out to you why this is a bad idea. People are saying that Mexicans and otherwise anybody south of the border sneaking into the country, they are taking our jobs. But they're taking jobs that Americans wouldn't do anyway, which isn't true, but let's pretend that it is. It's not. Pretend. If that's the case, then let's say you've got Juan over here, and Juan is an illegal immigrant. Well, if the government allows him to become a legal immigrant, now Juan is legal. Juan is now eligible for all of the rights that all of us have. Therefore, if the government has to pay me a minimum wage of, say, $7, then it has to pay Juan $7 because he's now an American citizen. Well, the people that wanted Juan here wanted him here because he was illegal and he was working for $5 an hour, not $7. So if you bring more illegal immigrants in and you give them amnesty and now you have to pay them equal, then doesn't that mean that the big corporations have to find more illegal immigrants in order to pay them $5 an hour? They don't give a rat's ass about whether Juan eats or not. They want to pay $5 instead of $7. Therefore, if you are in favor of illegal immigration, you are in favor of holding Juan back. If you are a libertarian, then you want to know where Juan is, and you want to give him his temporary visa and his work permit, and you want to make sure that the corporations have to pay you legal, whether you're illegal or not. Not just because that is right, but because that stops illegal immigration. Otherwise, you are encouraging illegal immigration, even if you okay Juan to work here. And if you can't see that, then you're stupid. The United States has accepted 2 new immigrants for each additional job created since 2000. What's that mean? It means that the people that snuck in, that you gave amnesty to, are now getting screwed over the same way that you and I are. How is this hard to understand? The data shows that 18 million legal and illegal immigrants settled in the U.S. from 2000 to 2015, while only 9.3 million additional jobs were created. In other words, amnesty has hurt the country for the reason that I just spelled out to you. Friends, you're listening to The Correct Views. Got 3 more stories to get to. I do want to remind you that this is brought to you by StickerJunkie.com. StickerJunkie.com will make you the best, tightest, graphically sound stickers you've ever had. Even if you just have a little bit of idea of what it is that you're looking for, go ahead and send it out to Sticker Junkie. Let David Lake know that you heard about it from The Correct Views. Tell him, man, I can't draw, but hey, Sam said you could turn this into something. You know what? He will. Guys, this next story brought to you by Mike McLaughlin. Look up the work of Mike McLaughlin on Facebook.com, MacLaughlin. He's one of the best writers that you will find available today. Poetry, fictional stories about vampires, logical rants about the world we live in. Mike McLaughlin, look him up. 19 cool uses for coconut oil. I'm just going to go ahead and not give you the beginning of this. Who cares what they said at the beginning? Here are the 19 useful uses for coconut oil. Body lotion. Use straight from the jar to make your own homemade coconut oil body lotion. There's a link to how to do it. And it smooths dry skin and helps prevent age spots. It treats athlete's foot. Stops squeaks. The next time your door or window screeches, or rub a little coconut oil on the hinges and it'll stop. Sticker removal. Tired of stickiness left over from your labels? Use coconut oil to help remove the gunk. Wood helper. Make dry wood furniture happy again with a quick rub of coconut oil. No, I'm not sponsored by coconut oil, by the way. I just do these things. Wound care. Due to the high concentration of antibacterial and soothing properties, smoothing a thin layer of coconut oil over a wound helps it stay clean. You can also use honey for that. Fights yeast infections. Ladies, you already know what that means. Unless you want to bake bread when you go downtown, try coconut oil. Boosts metabolism. Coconut oil has healthy components that tackle harmful bacteria while leaving healthy bacteria alone, helping to balance the flora in the digestive system. Therefore, you're going to lose weight. Banish lice. You want lice in your head? No, try coconut oil. Shine leather, we know what that means. Car detailing, we know what that means. Shaving cream. Coconut oil is a wonderful emollient, so blend it together with essential oils. You can use it to shave. You can stop your dog's itch. It's an eye makeup removal. It is a natural sunblock. It's an actual SPF 4. That's important because they put parabens and cancer-causing agents as preservatives and sun repellents in certain skin creams to protect you from the sun. Try coconut oil. Refresh cutting boards. You know what that means. Stop hairballs. If you don't want your cat puking up hair, it helps. Cooking. Coconut oil has a high smoke point, which means it can be used with high temperature cooking. It's rich in fatty acids and healthier than trans fats. So you can use it. It's a lot cheaper than a lot of the oils you're already using. Last but not least, it's a fire starter. If you can't get the fire to start, use coconut oil. Believe it or not, it helps. And it'll keep a lot of the gasoline and kerosenes and off of your food. Friends, that brings us to the dumdies of the day. Yes, I said dumb.
Before the dumdies, the coconut oil, like as far as pill form, would that work except for like the wood and the petitch and
it looks like
the
it's
logical thing?
It looks like it's the pure oil itself. You're going to want to buy the oil and then go to popsugar.com. Look up 19 uses for coconut oil. And in the article is how to break it down and use it. I just didn't want to lose all my listeners to pure boredom. But she has a good question that many of you are going to have. Yes, and that is the answer to your question and your question. Yes, I did say dumdies of the day, and we have 2 dumdies. That was 4. We have 2 dumdies. This is NBC Bay Area. Bay Area Air Quality Management District seeking to ban wood-burning fireplaces. This is more of 2 things. First of all, the government trying to get into your life, because if you burn wood in the house, it could be bad for you. Rather than just making that known and letting you make the decision for yourself as to what level of danger you want to allow into your family's life, the government wants to come in and tell you how to do it. Second of all, it's tied into this UN BS about global warming. And we all know that man-made global warming is a lie. And you can find it by looking up climategate.com, and you will find that what I'm telling you is true. It might be climategate.org. In a move sure to draw fire from homeowners, nice pun, the Bay Area Air Quality Management District wants to ban the sale of all homes with wood-burning fireplaces, because in America, you're not allowed to make up your own mind about anything. To rent or sell homes, homeowners would have to replace their wood fireplaces with gas ones. The ban would also extend to fireplaces in all new homes. In other words, kiss the UN's ass, or you can't live anywhere or rent anywhere. And if you get caught with one, then you might as well be in East Germany. The new measure could also take effect as soon as this November. So far, there's no timetable for the vote. But starting this week, the district is holding public meetings to get community input. How do you stop it? By paying attention to what I just said. It's in telling your representatives that you do not want this kind of draconian control over something that you can decide quite easily for yourself. Mikhail Phelan always finds me the best dumdies. PrisonPlanet.com. Eating 3 meals a day has declared as a racist by Mother Jones. You know, sometimes things are so stupid that you almost can't even find the words. So thankfully, Mikhail Phelan did. I'll just read his words. An article featured in the left-leaning news outlet Mother Jones, which you never want to read, although it does make a good birdcage liner for your parrot, declares this week that the act of eating 3 meals a day is racist. Well, what if you eat more? Are you just a fatso or are you more racist? And if you don't eat 3 meals a day, are you just unhealthy or are you less racist? Now we don't know. In a piece entitled Why You Should Stop Eating Breakfast, Lunch, and Dinner, there's a link. Writer Sierra, or maybe Kiera Butler, asserts that strict adherence to meal times is not only anti-science, but racist as well. When European settlers got to America, they also imported their meal habits, Butler says. They observed that the eating schedule of native tribes was less rigid. The volume and timing of their eating varied with the seasons. So, in other words, you should live like a bear. Sometimes when food was scarce, they fasted. No shit. The Europeans, I'm sorry I said shit. The Europeans took this as evidence that natives were uncivilized. So fascinated were Europeans with tribes' eating patterns that they actually watched Native Americans eat as a form of entertainment. Therefore, just because there's a better way to do it, you must be racist. Butler's article goes on to chronicle the rising prevalence of meal schedules and their dominance in modern Western culture, insinuating that the traditions of white Europeans' roots makes the very practice inherently racist. Now, by logic, then, you would make sure that maybe everybody doesn't get 3 square meals a day. But if you do that to somebody that is African American, Asian, Indian, well, then you will be racist because you didn't make sure they got 3 square meals a day like the white man did. So no matter what you pick, you're hosed. We're going to make sure the minorities eat 3 times a day. Got to make sure the minorities don't eat 3 times a day because you're racist. In other words, you're doomed. Dogmatic adherence to meal times is anti-science, racist, and might actually be making you sick, Butler writes. While such absurd claims are often praised by hordes of social justice warriors, scouring the depth of the internet, commentators on the article were quick to reject the draft declaration. Add eating to the list of everything that is racist, the article's top comment states. I never realized that oatmeal was racist. I feel so ashamed, another joked. The obsession by some to label everything as racist is so pervasive that focusing merely on the topic of food can yield countless similar stories. So what's the answer? Look, I'm a little chubby, so I might not be the best one to go to for this, but we'll run with it. When you're hungry, eat. Eat as healthy as you can and try to limit as much fattening stuff as you can. If your weight is where it's supposed to be, then you're fine. My fat ass can still get on a snowboard and live. Could I lose a few pounds? Yes. Am I grossly overweight? No. I must be racist. Friends, you're listening to the correct views here on the racist side of common sense. Go to themediaspeaks.com. Look up the work of Kyle Court, D. Lake, and myself. Also, you can donate to the show at themediaspeaks.com. Doing so is not racist, but it does, in fact, bring you a better show. My studio is still down, but hopefully we'll have it up next time. Might not look professional. Doesn't matter. My news is always on point. That's why you listen, and that's why I am humbled, and thank you for doing so. Good night, friends. God bless.